based on a true story, Unbroken is a 2014 film showing the life of US Olympic athlete Louis Zamperini during World War II.
Bombs away. Bombardier to pilot your ship.
Roger. Okay. Here we go.
This eye-opening film touches upon the horrific events of World War II through the eyes of a courageous young Zamperini who was stranded in the middle of the ocean with two others and later found at the mercy of Japanese soldiers.
Yeah. Just like Christmas.
As a teenager, Louie ran in the 1936 Berlin Olympics, at a time when Germany was under the early stages of Hitler's Nazi regime. For many around the world, the 1936 Olympics were the first introduction to the racist ideology that would later plunge the entire world into war. Both Germany and Japan justified their widespread human rights abuses during this era on the basis of claims of racial supremacy. As the war progresses, Louie decides to enlist into the US Air Corps and, like many soldiers, went missing in action. For 47 days, Louis Zamperini survived in a boat with his crewmates in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. Little did they know that after this heroic effort, they would be captured and made prisoners of war. In this way, Zamperini and his crewmates came face to face with the horrible realities of wartime atrocities committed by the Japanese against both civilians and prisoners of war.
I got good news. And bad news.
Both the Japanese and the Germans tortured and killed those whom they deemed to be racially inferior. While the Germans are most famous for the extermination camps, the Japanese earned a reputation during this era for their extreme cruelty on civilians and soldiers who they captured. Many prisoners of war were forced to work as slaves in factories or shipyards. In this case, Louie and his last surviving crewmate were sent to a coal mine to work for the remainder of the war.
You are enemies of Japan. You will be treated accordingly.
Two years spent in a prison camp has the ability to break a person's spirit. In this scene, we see the harsh realities that prisoners of war face in times of war. Prisoners were robbed of their dignity and systematically abused through starvation, torture, and the constant threat of death. At the core of this film is a story of triumph of the human spirit over such dehumanization. In this scene, a sadistic Japanese officer named Matsuhiro Watanabe tortures Louie in front of the other prisoners. But Louie learns to not only cope with the horrific conditions he is faced with, he actually makes a choice to redeem his suffering by channeling what he endured for good. Sometimes the evil and suffering in our world can seem overwhelming, but there is a redemptive message to this film that we should all heed. Louis Zamperini actually survived the war and worked to promote forgiveness and understanding between Japanese and Americans. He remained unbroken by the cruelty of his captors because he refused to hate or dehumanize them in return. May we all learn from his example and seek to defeat forces like racism and ideologies of hatred in our time. The key is to defend human dignity and to promote the freedoms that are the birthright of all humanity.
It's over! The war's over!